So a year and a half ago, I decided to sell my 30th anniversary edition Miata, and I very shortly replaced it with this silver E92 M3. Then following my footsteps, my wife Kelsey, also known as Dark Cherry Miata, decided to sell her ND and picked up this 2022 M340i. It's been about 6 months that we have been a Miata-less household, but I'm excited to announce that that's all about to change. You may have already seen on her Instagram, but allow me to officially introduce our brand new, to us, 1994 MX-5 Miata. So we picked this car up a couple weeks ago after casually looking for one about a month or so before that. And this one popped up for the right price, and it was really the color that drew Kelsey's eye to it. I actually really like the paint color. I think it fits the car perfectly. So the previous owner did repaint this herself. She even did some rust repair in some of the typical areas like the wheel arches right here. And then she also had the wheels themselves refinished. We both really like these wheels. But unfortunately, those are pretty much the only good things this car has going for it. As you can kind of already tell, this is a true project car through and through. One, the engine cranks, but it does not start. And then two, most of the interior is ripped apart and gutted. We're missing a lot of the trim, the carpet, the door cards, the tombstone piece, the gauge hood. We don't even have the windows in the car. We do have the panes. They're actually sitting right over there. The soft top is here. It is operable, but the tension cables are broken and not really connected to anything on both sides. If we lift the top up, you'll see here, no rips or tears in the top, thankfully. It does operate, like I said, but it's actually only attached by 2 bolts here in the back to the rain rail, and the plastic window itself is in absolutely terrible condition. This car was sitting outside for about 6 months or so, and the weather really took a toll on it. I did find on some of the Jeep forums some ways of cleaning up this top and maybe making it visible and see-through, transparent again. So we'll be getting to that in another video. But as far as all of the missing interior pieces go, we do have quite a few down here from the previous owner. I haven't fully sorted through them to see what's usable and what's not. Likewise, we've got some more in a box over here. Again, I haven't fully looked through these to see what's usable and what's not. I know we have like a new air conditioning, climate control panel down there, so that'll be nice to put in. But yeah, we've got a lot of parts lying around to put this car back together, just a lot of little things, a lot of TLC that it needs. But the first priority is to get the engine running. Let's take a look under the hood and see what's going on. So as you can see, I've got the front of the engine pretty much torn down. This is all put together when we first got the car. It's all in pieces down here, and as you might be able to guess, I will be doing a timing belt job on this vehicle. The previous owner had thrown a couple different parts at it, including the main relay, the fuel pump, I believe new spark plugs, and a couple other things, but all of it was to no avail as the engine still would not run. So it did run under her ownership, stopped at some point, and then now doesn't run, and they weren't really sure what the issue was. Everything under the hood looked pretty normal. Nothing really popped out. When you tried to start the car, it did crank and sounded healthy. It built good oil pressure as well. This one does have the real working oil pressure gauge instead of that dummy gauge that they put in the later model years. So it wasn't immediately obvious what the problem was. So once we got it here home in the garage, we started to go through the basic troubleshooting steps, including a compression test. Now, of course, to do a compression test, you have to remove the spark plugs. We checked those and they looked pretty good. They didn't seem damaged or worn other than some carbon buildup. Nothing really out of the ordinary to worry about. Now for the compression test itself, which is a great place to start with any non-running engine that cranks, as it gives great insight into the overall health of the engine and can point to the root cause issue. You generally want to see around 180 psi or more and 5% or less difference across the cylinders. The first cylinder reached just shy of 100 psi, not a great start. The second cylinder showed 0 psi and the third maxed out around 120 psi. I didn't record the fourth cylinder, but it was also showing 0. At first I was a bit confused as to what was causing 2 of the cylinders to have no compression and the other 2 to have much less than normal, but I was eager to open up the engine, so that's exactly what I did to continue troubleshooting. Upon removing the valve cover, I discovered that the timing belt was very loose. As it turns out, the timing belt had snapped at some point, and that would explain the compression test numbers since cylinders 2 and 4 had valves stuck open. It's worth mentioning for those that are not familiar with Miatas, the first and second generation, at least in the NA and the NB, have non-interference engines. What this means is that the pistons and the valves will never come in contact with each other, even if the timing belt snaps or the engine was timed improperly. And so for that reason, because I did not see anything else abnormal in the engine, I figured a simple timing belt replacement would be the best place to start. I'm not going to show the whole process for changing the timing belt, so if you want to see the full process, I'd recommend you check out Greg Peters' video on the Car Passion channel. I'll link it down in the description below. After replacing the timing belt along with the idler and tensioner pulleys, cam and crankshaft seals, and valve cover gaskets, it was time to see if our engine would run or if there were other issues plaguing it. So after engaging the starter for a few seconds, giving it a little bit of gas, and honestly a bit to our surprise, the engine started up and it ran really well. Some of you might notice, and I need to address this mistake, you might have heard a little bit of a high frequency, metallic, pinging, kind of a harsh sound right after I revved the car. If you didn't notice it, go ahead and take another listen here. So as it turns out, I had forgotten to torque down the bolts for the water pump pulley, and so as I revved the engine, they started to back themselves out, and the whole pulley was vibrating against the water pump impeller shaft. One of the bolts did get damaged. Thankfully, I had another one to fit in its place. Torqued those down, added a little bit of blue Loctite as well, and then things were seemingly good to go. So thankfully, all it really was a simple timing belt job, and now we have a running Miata. But as we're about to head into winter here, it is time to shift our focus onto some other areas of the car that desperately need work. The first two would be getting the interior back together and resealing the car. By resealing, I mean getting the top bolted in, cleaning up the window, getting the door windows back in place, all those sorts of things to make it somewhat weatherproof, so that way come spring we can drive it around without any concerns. So make sure to stay tuned for the next episodes as we begin to piece this car back together slowly but surely and turn it into a full functioning road going Miata. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to leave all of your questions and comments down in the comment section below, and I can't wait to see you in the next video.